Although world celebrities and successful people succeed in different fields, they always share certain habits, and these habits contribute significantly to the success of all of them. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most important of these habits, which is to wake up early and maintain a constant routine. But the writer here does not mean that each of us has our own routine, but rather that we all adhere to the same routine that we will know through the book, and this will ensure our success and will change our whole lives for the better. Hal Elrod tells us that he derived his confidence in this routine from his success story, and the success of tens of thousands of people around the world who are considered sufficient evidence of the success of his routine. And by the way, the importance of the present moment, power of now. He tells us the story of a young man in his 20s, and one day he was riding in his car, walking in it on the road, and without introductions, he was surprised by his car colliding violently, and everything around him turned black. And hours after this scene, the young man woke up on a hospital bed and learned about the accident, because of which he suffered brain damage, 11 different fractures in his body, and doctors said that he would probably not be able to walk again. And suddenly he became the young man who was living his life as comfortable and doesn't matter to him. He is exposed to permanent disability, and when half of his day passes, he forgets what happened in the first place. If you ask what happened to this young man later, it is as follows. The young man was able to overcome the severe depression he went through, and he walked back on his feet again. His health became better than before. In addition to that, he founded his own business and began to write books, which were the highest sellers in the world, and began to give speeches in the largest theaters. And certainly, as the picture began to become clear to you, this person is Hal Elrod, the author of the book. He said that the incident he was subjected to made him able to understand the value of the moment and realize that he may die in 1 second. And the experience of his proximity to death made him decide to make the best possible use of every moment in his life. And at this time, the writer read a sentence that was constantly circulating in his brain. Namely, your level of success in life will not exceed the level of your personal development. And from here, the writer began to look for the habits of successful people and know the importance of waking up early in their lives, and even saw how successful people compete, who will wake up even earlier, such as Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, athletes like Ronaldo and Bruce Lee, and actors like Will Smith and Dwayne Johnson and others. 1 hour earlier. Most of us stay awake all night, then sleep late in front of the phone or TV. Wake up, turn on the alarm for work or study, keep squeezing the nap once, twice, and 3, and then reluctantly wake up to browse the phone and rush to work. And although this is the routine of most people, it also shows us why most people don't succeed. Only about 5% live the way they really want. Hal Elrod emphasizes here the idea that it is the first hour of our day that determines how our whole day will pass. And what we do before bed makes a difference with us when we wake up. So you will often find that when you wake up, you think about the last thing you thought about at night, which shows us how important it is to leave the phone before bed and write down everything you want to do the next day, because this programs your mind in a certain way, making you keep these thoughts in your brain and remember them when you wake up. And at the same time, you try to prepare mentally that you will wake up early even if you are used to sleeping late. Hal Elrod realized through the experiences of those around him that 7 hours of sleep is enough. And if we wake up lazy, some things may help us to wake up, as we can sleep 2 hours more than once throughout the day. The total will eventually be 6 or 8 hours, and so we will keep us active throughout the day. If you can't imagine the importance of mental preparation to wake up early, let me remind you of 2 scenes that we live daily. The first scene is your night and your sleep, holding the phone and not feeling the world, and then waking you up with headaches and wanting to sleep again. The second scene is also a day when you stayed up and slept holding your phone and you are supposed to wake up early, but this time you will go to the summer the next day, or to the wedding of someone important in your life, or you will travel to another country, or have an important job interview. Will you wake up with the same laziness and lethargy? The answer is no. You wake up stimulated, energetic, eager to know what's going on. Exactly, that's what the writer wants us to get to arrange our goals before we fall asleep in a way that makes us excited when we wake up. 6 habits to change your life. As we said at the beginning, Hal Elrod says that we should follow a certain routine to change our lives in the fastest way possible. This routine is divided into 6 habits that we must keep up with every morning. And the reason why the writer thought about this routine is that he sees that most people wake up on time for work or study and do not devote time to themselves. They rush to their work as soon as the alarm rings. But Hal sees it as very important to have time our own in which we do certain things. So he began to advise people to wake up 1 hour earlier than their appointment to follow his routine. People were lazy at first and found it difficult to do so. But with time and when they sensed some changes, they made the clock 2 hours and 3. Calm and silence are the first 2 elements of Hal's routine, and this is the perfect beginning of the day for him. To sit quietly, and silently, to give a chance to the flow of thoughts and feelings, and to fully understand that we are on a new day. But this period of silence will not be spent on the bed. We will practice at this time certain activities that have brought us to calm and rest. We can pray or practice yoga and meditation, or even perform breathing exercises. And breathing exercises are focused on our breathing, so that the breath comes out of the abdomen and returns to it and not from chest area. This exercise will lead us to a great degree of comfort and will also make us communicate with random thoughts in our brain. Secondly, positive affirmations, or the cultivation of positivity. And the writer here means to assure ourselves that we are good people and deserve the best, and we can do what we want. He does not mean the repetitions of human development, but he means to remind ourselves so that we do not forget and so that our minds get used with time to what we say. And the examples of successful people who did this are many, such as Oprah Winfrey, Muhammad Ali Clay, who is famous for his phrase, "I'm the greatest," or "I am the greatest." And what Muhammad Ali meant here is that he always reminds himself that he is able to be the best boxer, and not to allow despair and doubt to creep in. And the affirmations here vary from person to person. Each of us uses positive affirmations appropriate to his life and goals. And some things improve the effect of affirmations, such as repeating them and saying them out loud or saying them in front of mirrors. The third thing in the morning routine is imagination. And imagination here is not far from the previous point. And what we have to do is imagine ourselves doing things that we would have liked to do, in the sense of imagining that we are rising in our work, or that we have won a championship or succeeded in study. And the idea here is that we assure ourselves that we will arrive, and that with a little patience and diligence we will be there. And this is similar to what the actor Jim Carrey did as a young man, when he wanted to act with well-known actors, and to be his name is big in the film industry. And to prove to himself that he is capable of it, he wrote a receipt for $10 million, and wrote on it the date of 1995. And indeed on this date Jim Carrey was the hero of big films, acting with the most famous names in the world. But he himself became one of these names, and then owned more than $10 million. This is what the author of the book also did at the time of the incident, which helped him to improve his memory and health, and he was able to return to his normal life, because he assured himself and imagined himself, and he is healthy. In short, imagination is proof that you have the will. Fourthly, sports. And sports are one of the most important activities that will help us to take care of the rest of the habits properly, and will improve our whole life. And the rule here is simple: give sports its time now, or wait for the disease that will take you this time at an older age. And generally you do not have to exercise an hour or two, or just light exercises from 10 to 20 minutes. You can run or walk in quick steps, or play pressure in mind, or cardio exercises. It will not occupy the time of your whole day. At the same time, it has great long-term benefits. The fifth habit is reading. And of course there is no routine to rely on without containing reading, because reading is one of the most important habits that a person must maintain. But its impact in the long term is very large, and it is like other habits. You are not required to read a book. Just 10 minutes or a quarter of an hour to read daily, and try not to decrease your response from 10 pages, even in the worst circumstances. And these 10 pages will produce you about 18 books a year. You can imagine that you've read 18 books in a field you're interested in or want to develop yourself in. The last habit with us is writing, and here you will allow your thoughts to flow on paper and empty your brain as much as possible. And the writer says that he used to write basically two things, the first of which is his obligations and duties, and the second is the lessons learned and what he has learned. And some add gratitude or things that he wants to continue in his life, or that he wants to get rid of, and so on. Each writes in a way that suits him, and the writer says that this habit does not need more than 10 minutes mostly. After following all these habits, you will find that it takes almost an hour of your time. Positive affirmations and imagination, for example, will take only 5 minutes of your time, and so calm and silence, and the rest of the habits will take about a quarter of an hour. However, Hal says that we will find it difficult at first to do all this daily at once. It is difficult for you to try the 6-minute system. And this system is simply to give each habit 1 minute. And of course each person and his ability. We can make the minute 2 or 3 minutes or 5, until we get used to it and it turns into a routine. 5 habits of waking up actively. As we said earlier, following this morning routine will not be easy at first, especially since you will not wake up fully focused and want to sleep again. And here the writer tells you some steps that will make you active. And if you want to sleep, first you will write down what you want to wake up for before you sleep to remember it when you wake up. Second, you'll keep the alarm clock away from you as much as possible, so as not to put pressure on the nap, and assure yourself that you don't want to wake up. That will make you get out of bed to close the alarm, and that alone is enough to wake you up from sleep. Thirdly, you will go to the bathroom and wash your face with cold water. Then brush your teeth. You will spend a minute or two in this activity to wake up a little. Fourth, drink a large glass of water. And fifth, change your pajamas. And of course it's better to change the whole sleeping place and go sit in a place where sunlight reaches to connect your morning brain to it. And all this away from the phone completely. In the end, let me tell you that this routine has worked with thousands of people and changed their lives for the better, and yet it is a personal effort of the writer. You can modify some of its details, or modify the time to keep pace with your life, not to imagine yourself successful every day. This will not affect the routine, but what will affect is to stop reading or sports or even the period of calm and silence, especially after you get used to it. Do not restrict yourself to this routine but make it improves your life as much as possible.